According to the updated gag order by Judge Amy Berman Jackson, Roger Stone should be in jail at any moment now. J Pork's podcast, exclusively on East Coast Radio. Mile journey begins with one step. Progressives took that step on November 6th. The journey's not over, but we took a step in the right direction.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Did you see New York 11 elected a Democrat? New York 11 is Staten Island, the most Trumpian place in New York City. Elected a Democrat. Don't try to tell me it wasn't a wave. Robert Mueller isn't the only person investigating Trump now. We have the House Intel Committee is now chaired by Adam Schiff, and they have subpoena power. And he will use it. And he will get to the bottom of this, like he's been trying to do for the last 2 years, and Devin Nunes has been stymieing him. Devin Nunes is no longer the chairman. The midnight runs to the White House are over. I made a promise to the listeners of East Coast Radio that if the Democrats did not mess up November, that if November 6th went our way, that we would have a little fun here on East Coast Radio. And if you stay tuned, I promise you this. Along with our fighting fascism and trying to save democracy, we will have a little fun. Because we earned it. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio. Remember, we got Dies in Your House at the end of the week. We got the J Porks podcast at the beginning of the week. Every week, East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Get us on Patreon, patreon.com/JPorks, and follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Let's punch fascism in the face. One podcast at a time.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived. Representing Staten Island. Staten Island was no joke.
I think I'm going parasailing. Miles above, it's so serene. I'm letting go of all the troubles that I've seen, Way up here, no one can touch me. I'm drifting like a lost balloon. I'm out of reach, I won't be coming down anytime soon. Anytime soon. I'm high as a kite. Don't you think you know what I'm worth? Flying like a beautiful bird. I'm high as a kite. Don't you think you know what I'm worth? Why I gotta come down to earth?
Hey, yo.
Feel no pain,
What is the word, peeps? Welcome back into another action-packed edition of the J Porks podcast. I am J Porks, with me as always on the other side of the glass, making sure this is a well-oiled podcast machine. Every week is the ever-popular Nobody. That on the intro is the new Weezer song, High as a Kite. Judging by the lyrics, you can tell that those guys have never smoked marijuana in their lives. I'm just pointing it out there. I mean, I like Weezer. I love them. They're a good band, and people should stop taking them so seriously. What am I doing here? Oh, right, J Porks podcast, right? What goes on, peeps? Welcome back into the action-packed edition of the J Parks Podcast, exclusively here on Least Coast Radio. Least Coast Radio is the channel, it's the vehicle we use to fight fascism. And tell me about fascism.
Fascism is a form of radical authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and of the economy,
What else?
which came to prominence in early 20th century Europe.
Did it? Oh. Sounds a lot like what America's going through right now. Like the rise of it, the warnings of it. So let's just stomp it out before it gets here, like a Bernie Sanders Dem candidacy. Let's just stomp it out before it gets hot. Oh boy. I want to get into Roger Stone in a second, but North Carolina, 9th District, they're having a new election. Democracy. So it was found out that, I don't have all the details, so I don't want to but basically, the Republican who claims to have won, his son got on the stand and was like, yo, I told you that the guy you hired to do this illegal stuff was going to do illegal stuff. And the congressional, the caucus or whatever in North Carolina, council, agreed unanimously that we need a new election. So that means Democrats are looking at seat number 41 in the epic blue wave of 2018. And listen, whether it was a Republican or a Democrat who came out on top, when fraud is found, a new election, only way to go. We're not doing recounts, a new election and stuff like that. This is called democracy. And this is how it works. Like, for instance, I rail on Max Rose a lot because he's my congressman. But you know what? I voted for him. And now he's in Congress. And I saw him on Morning Joe the other day. And I looked up at my TV and I said, democracy. Interesting how it works, right? When you vote for someone, when you participate in, what makes America awesome. Anyhow, Roger Stone. First of all, first things first, at Zoe Tillman on Twitter. She is a BuzzFeed legal reporter. She was in the courtroom or in the press room watching the proceedings happen on the screen that they have or whatever. And her tweets, she live tweeted the Roger Stone hearing, and it basically put everyone that was reading it inside that courtroom. I mean, it was fantastic. I kept retweeting her tweets and then saying angry things, but it wasn't towards her, it was towards the situation that's happening, and I'll get into it right now. So, Roger Stone shared a picture on Instagram of Judge Amy Berman Jackson, J Parks, but East Coast Radio's favorite superhero name, Judge Amy Berman Jackson. Dun, dun. Anyway, so he put a picture on Instagram of her next to Crosshairs and was like, deep state. And then the judge issued an order you need to come to court now. Because he's got this gag order. Not a full gag order. But he's not supposed to be talking. Not supposed to be, and that's Roger Stone. So, if you tell Roger Stone to not talk, what are you going to tell a duck not to quack either? I mean, duck's going to quack, That's just how it is. So, yesterday, I thought she's going to call Roger Stone into court, yell at him, possibly send him to jail, or fine him. What I would do is I would fine him all of the money that his legal defense fund has raised. That's what I would do. I would say, how much money have you raised for your legal defense fund? $36,000. I'm fining you that right now. That's what I would do. But Roger Stone's lawyers are like, Your Honor, this would be better explained if my client got on the stand. I'm like, oh my God. They're really trying. They really think that this judge is going to put Roger Stone on the stand. That's exactly what Roger Stone wants. To get on the stand and to tell his story. there's no way she's going to allow that. And then the next tweet is, Roger Stone is being sworn in. What? You're giving this guy what he wants. This is exactly what this guy wants. Roger Stone wants all of the attention in the world. He wants to write a book on this one cross-examination that he had in court. So he, got on, he apologized. The government cross-examined him. It was everything Roger Stone wanted to happen, because at the end of the day, he left court with a slightly stricter gag order. He can't talk about the case. He's only allowed to say that he's innocent of the charges and that you can go donate to me here. He can't talk about the case anymore. And if he talks about the case again, Judge Amy Berman Jackson said she was going to, quote, adjust his environment. Now, that is a fancy way of saying I'm going to put you in prison where you can get raped by a guy named Bubba without your consent. You're going to get your environment adjust. That's like when you tell people, like, when you're going to fight, like, not when you're going to fight, but when you're talking, like, man, that guy's talking all that shit. I will adjust his jaw right now. I will fix his face up. You say something like that. Adjust your environment. That's like when hired goons go and tune somebody up, but they don't play instruments, We're going to go tune them up. Yeah, but I don't see you. Where's the guitar? When I play an instrument, when I'm in a band. Okay. So Roger Stone has a strict gag order. He can't talk about the case. About 5 minutes after he left court, he tweeted about the deep state and how he's going to fight the battle off social media. It's only a matter of time. But Roger Stone wants to go to prison. Roger Stone going to prison is a good life story for him. But the fact of the matter is this. Even in times where prison, is a thing. Like, alright, for instance, you got the old video clip of Michael Cohen saying he would take a bullet for Trump, right? But then when it came time to face real jail time, he's like, psh, country over party, you know what I'm saying? But guys like Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, they don't even know or care about what decency is. When you go to, listen, when I was on probation when I was 15, 16 years old for misconduct and resisting arrest, long story, I'll tell it another time. I used to have to go to court once a month or once every 2 months with my parents. And I was this, asshole kid who would wear headbands and baggy pants and stuff. But when it came time to come to court, I wore a nice sweater. I wore a nice pair of pants. Because when you're in court, you're on you're trying to be normal. You're trying to not go to jail. Paul Manafort entered a plea agreement a cooperation agreement with the special counsel Robert Mueller's office, and then lied to them purposefully, hoping to get some sort of pardon. Roger Stone got on the stand to make a lot of noise, none of which were about collusion. He made it about him. And that's what this is. This is going to turn into Stone, Manafort. Yeah, they might go to jail. But if the reports are if the reports of the Mueller investigation coming to an end a week after Bill Barr was confirmed, if those are accurate, then I have some serious questions about the future of the rule of law in this country. I have some skepticism, and I would be a little worried. Also, we have Michael Cohen testifying by the end of the month. He says he's pulling back the curtain. I am already microwaving popcorn, and I will continue to microwave popcorn every second of the day until it is time for Michael Cohen to testify. But right now, those are your three amigos. Stone, Manafort, Cohen. all of whom are either in Paul Manafort's in jail, Cohen is going to jail, and Roger Stone, I'll be surprised if this podcast goes live before he's in jail. Man. I just really hope we're finally at the time where Paul Manafort and Roger Stone's dirty trickster antics are over. Because if we can remove people like them, not from life, you know, I mean, they should, whatever crimes they're charged with, they should go to jail for, and then when they're done with it, they should come out. But they cannot be in politics. This is new politics. And you'll hear me say that every week. It's new politics. We're done with that. We're done with dirty tricksters, hooked up with the corporations, funneling dark money from foreign entities like Saudi Arabia and Russia and Israel. We're done with that. We're done. I'm done. Alright. We'll get into the news of the week when we come back after this. Hey yo, J-Porks here, back to recording my own commercials. And here's the deal. You may have heard me complaining on today's podcast or a previous podcast about suffering through a summer of unemployment. Well, we have a fix for that, and it is called Patreon. That's right. East Coast Radio now has a Patreon page. And all you need to do is go to patreon.com/jporks. And there are 3 tiers that you can subscribe to. 3 tiers you can join to become a member of East Coast Radio, of the East Coast Radio community, of Porks Nation. You'll even have a chance to pick the name and all that stuff. And we are not offering just thank yous and shout outs. We got bonus content. There is even a tier where you are able to talk to me on the phone every week. And we will go over what is happening in our country. And you could personally talk to me, J Pork. Personal interactions. There's a tier where there's a group. You can join a group and you could affect where the podcast goes that week. I need a community. I need help. Not necessarily money, but I need people to be helping me out. So therefore, that's why I created a East Coast Radio Patreon. Not to be confused with a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter. This is not me with my handout. I have bonus content. Bonus content to offer you. I have tons of it. I have tons of time, and I want to give it to you. All you need to do is join us on Patreon. Become a Patreon. Patreon.com/jporks. Look for the East Coast Radio Patreon page. You'll see me with a microphone and dies in your house next to the name. You'll see that. So just go hit us on Patreon. You will get a thank you. I will know that, and you will have a lot to do with what goes down on the J Porks podcast and everything concerned with East Coast Radio. It's going to be a big year for us. 2018. Let's get it done. And we're back. J Porks podcasts. So, this week we got the news that next week Robert Mueller would be handing in his report. The Mueller report. The well-anticipated Mueller report. Now, there's a lot of different feelings I have. One, there's a part of me that freaks out. There's a part of me that says, you know what? Bill Barr just got confirmed. And Matt Schlaub the other day, the CPAC guy or whatever, some conservative PAC guy, he said that when Bill Barr took over, that he was going to end this thing. Bill Barr takes over. Special counsel's office starts packing up their boxes, leaving the office. They haven't convened a grand jury since the Stone indictment. It could get it could get an American worried. People that care about the rule of law are worried, and rightfully so. Bill Barr has already said that he may not make the whole report public to he may not give the whole report to Congress because some of it may be classified. Now, I'll address that in a second. There's also second part of me feels like, okay, Robert Mueller is a professional. That's all we've been hearing. And he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who, if somebody told him to stop investigating something that was worth investigating, doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would be like, okay, no problem. You're right. Let me lay off this. Maybe I can get my membership back at Trump's golf course. No, I just don't see that being the thing. So, as nervous as I am about all this, I think that it was coming in for a landing anyway. The only people left to indict are Corsi and Credico and the family. Don Jr., Jared Kushner, Ivanka. Now, here's my problem. If we get a report, listen, first of all, I don't care what the report says. These people are like mobsters, and that's how they operate. So, keeping things quiet is the idea. So, the Russian collusion, if DOJ is on a if they're on a clock on how fast it's going to take them to find it, that's not how the rule of law works. This isn't a basketball game. There's no clock. There's no, oh, it needs to be over by this time. Let's keep in mind that Ken Starr was a fixture in our lives what felt like most of the 90s. Ken Starr's investigation ran for 4 years. Ken Starr gave press conferences like all the time. All of the time. For everything Trump hates about this investigation, Robert Mueller is not Ken Starring it. He's not leaking. He's not giving press conferences every day. He's keeping to himself, not commenting on any of the stories. And you know, witch hunt. It's early. Witch hunt. So that's what they say. But then when the report comes out, if they say, oh, there's no direct collusion, if they say that, then why are we supposed to believe it if it was a witch hunt, if it was a fake investigation anyway? Now, the only reason that somebody would be railing against this investigation is if it's going places they don't like. Don Jr. has not spoken to the special counsel. That tells me that he's going to be charged with something. Now, I understand the grand jury hasn't convened, but word on the street, and I hope the street is right, is that there are sealed indictments because the special counsel's office knew that where this was going to go and knew that he would be ousted eventually. So there are sealed indictments ready to go at the drop of a hat. Let's just hope some major players are involved. I mean, but the thing is that, like, indictments include, like, Trump's campaign manager and Trump's longest-serving advisor in Roger Stone. And, you know, those two are both indicted. And you're still trying to be like, I didn't do anything. All right, well, if you didn't do anything, then you have a bad habit of hanging out with criminals. My father used to tell me this, you know, don't hang out with the wrong crowd. Trump is the wrong crowd. And I really want to know what Steve Bannon's role is in all this. We haven't heard from him. Is he working Is he working with the special counsel? Is he an informant? Because he doesn't want to go to... Because he's caught up in the Cambridge Analytica thing, too. And I'm for certain Steve Bannon doesn't want to go to jail. So is he telling? Someone's telling. Read so many posts, so many tweets. There was a 117 tweet thread on Twitter about, like, here, we've seen the Mueller report. Here it is. And it just listed all of the indictments. Like, okay, I get it that they're indicting people and that is supposed to give us, like, a clue into what actually... Like, I can read an indictment, so I read it and I know what's going on. But, like, the people who these criminal activities needs to reach, the people that really need to understand that Trump is a criminal and he can't be voted for again, those people aren't getting the message that's being put out there in indictments and court filings. They're not. So unless you come out and you say Donald Trump fucking colluded with Russia, here are the texts, here are the stories, here's how it happened. Unless he comes out and says that, then these assholes are just gonna victory. They're gonna feel vindicated. And listen, I want the rule of law to work. I want democracy to work. I don't want people to make up fake crimes, but again, when you read the indictments, individual 1, organization 1, we got Stone in coercion with WikiLeaks, in coercion with Trump, in coercion with the National Enquirer, who in turn is in coercion with Saudi Arabia somehow, and Russia is back in the whole plan. Oh, Russia didn't hack American elections. Americans did. Because Americans are so divisive in this country that we let it happen to ourselves. Shut up. That's such a stupid take. And it's not a take I'm interested in hearing. I've been watching this unfold for 2.5 years. There is no chance that Donald Trump was just going along his merry way and none of these crimes that got committed he knew about. It's impossible. So if NBC News and all these can stop with the Mueller report is coming, like, first of all, we really don't know. So let's not say that we know that the Mueller report is coming. We don't. They said it was going to be before Thanksgiving 2017. It's not over yet, because every time Mueller pulls up a rock, more Russians pop out. And Ukrainians. It's insane. What we need to do, and another part of this is, so if we're waiting for the investigation after 2 years, well, you know what? How long could I investigate, right? If he does that, if he says, these guys are mob tactics and they cover it up, if they come out with that, then what we've done as Americans is waste 2 years of impeachment. Now, I know that Democrats didn't have the gavels until this year, but we need to impeach. It's not a political game anymore. We need to impeach to save democracy and to save our party. Because if we sit back as Democrats and just, try to be like, this too shall pass, and just wait, the guy has committed impeachable offenses. It's not a political game or tactic. That's not what I'm over here doing. I am not a political operative. I'm not a political strategist. I know that you get impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. And I know that there has been an investigation into Trump that he has obstructed at several levels. That is a crime. I also know that there are several abuses of power. The most recent one will include the national emergency that is not an actual national emergency. We could also talk about his family members profiting off foreign governments, i.e. Jared Kushner, Saudi Arabia. We could also talk about him not caring about Jamal Khashoggi being killed and still cozying up to Saudi Arabia. These are crimes. All of the Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, Karen McDougal stuff, those are all crimes. The SDNY is investigating those crimes. And all of that crap that you hear about the DO... First of all, Maddow on Friday. Or was it Thursday? Maddow on Thursday. Woo! Killed it. Killed it. Let me tell you why. The DOJ memo that... The DOJ opinion that a sitting president cannot be indicted was not stated due to the fact that they were asking that question. I'll explain. The question was, can Spiro Agnew, the vice president, could be indicted? And the answer was yes. Yeah, the answer was yes, and then they said that the president can't be at the moment. But that wasn't the point of the opinion. So that is not an actual DOJ policy. It is not a rule. It is not a law. It is not anything. Because here's my thing. If you want to say you can't, if you want to say, oh, well, he can't break the law, he's the president. Well, listen, here's the thing. You either believe in the law or you don't. The law is an equal thing. It applies to everybody the same. Not like, oh, you can't have black people being incarcerated at a higher rate than white people for committing the same crimes, i.e. smoking marijuana. So, you can't... So, the rule of law applies to everybody. You can't have one president get impeached for having consensual sex with an intern. Consensual. Let's just underline consensual. And then you have this guy who said grab him by the pee, and all of this other... his inaugural fund is a fucking criminal scam. It's all criminal. This guy, he's offered sanctions relief to Russia in exchange for help. Just because the words weren't spelled out in a text, we all see that that's what happened. So we need to impeach because impeachment has discovery. So it wouldn't matter whether if he didn't get impeached. If he got impeached but didn't get convicted. And we'll go back to my talk with Greg Olear a couple of months ago. He said that if they impeach Trump, he'll resign. He is under the opinion that Trump does not want to go through discovery. Sign me up. Right now. Because it's getting into a dangerous place, man. We have all these investigations and they don't go anywhere. Like Bill Clinton was impeached, man. We're going to sit here and play political games? Oh, well, actually, if we impeach now, we're going to look like this. No, if you impeach now, you're going to look like representatives of the House doing your constitutional duty. Article 1. That's what it's going to look like. It's not going to look like anything else. At the end of the day, you have to do the right thing, not the thing that looks like the right thing. That's the problem with politics. Too many people doing things that appear to be the right thing. They care about the optics and how they look. If something is right, it's right. And what's right in this situation is that the Trump enterprise is full of criminals, grifters, thieves, and liars. And they all deserve to go to jail. If Robert Mueller indicted Trump, he would win that court battle. No, without question. So, Hashtag the resistance. We have, a lot to be worried about. We have a lot to be hopeful for. If you follow Palmer Report, which I do, I like the website, you would see, you'd be reading stuff that says, that makes you feel pretty good. You would read things that say that the presidency is about over. Which I hope it is. Because I don't... And I'm not saying that once we get out of this, rising fascism that I'll go back to ignoring politics. No, I'll be... But I won't be this. I definitely promise you that I won't know the MSNBC schedule anymore. Man, but Rach has had a big week, right? Rach has had a big week. And I was tweeting, I like tweeting when Maddow's on. Because then I get to meet friends. Because I'm liberal now. I am more openly liberal than I was previously to 2016. I've always been a liberal, but I'm more in-your-face liberal since we had our little problem with our little democracy hiccup in 2016. But I don't have friends. All my friends have left me. They don't talk to me anymore because of my political views. Same reason why I don't get jobs. Although, I will admit, the search is over. I did get a job. And I will allegedly start training the middle of next month. It's a new store. I'm not going to get into the company because I might be saying things a little too liberal for them, but just do it. Speaking of doing it, we'll do a little more of this podcast when we come back after this. Hey, yo! Jay Porks here, recording my own commercials as per usual. But I am here to tell you about going to patreon.com/JPorks, and you have the opportunity to help support Least Coast Radio by becoming a Least Coast Radio head. How do you do that, you say? Well, there are 3 different tiers to choose from, where you can find yourself bonus content, bonus features from the Jay Porks podcast, from Dies in Your House, from all things Least Coast Radio. Now, what are those features? Well, they're bonus shows. They're getting shows early. They're getting exclusive artwork mailed to the address of your choosing monthly. You can interact with all the hosts here on Least Coast Radio. You can get shout-outs on the podcast. Behind the scenes stuff. That's on Dies in Your House and the Jay Porks podcast. You get them both here on Least Coast Radio. Dies in Your House is usually the primer at the end of the week. The Jay Porks podcast is the long show. What we do at the beginning of the week to get you going, to take in everything that happened. But I need some help. And how you can help Least Coast Radio is by following us on Twitter at Least Coast Radio, going to patreon.com/JPorks, becoming a Patreon, becoming a Least Coast Radio head. And, if you don't want to do any of those things, you can smash that subscribe button on iTunes or YouTube. And, you can, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to share the podcast with your friends. So keep it locked to Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. We're here fighting fascism, saving democracy, but we're also going to have a little fun. Keep it locked. And we are back. Jay Porks podcast exclusively on Least Coast Radio. So, we got one more thing to get to before I get up on out of here. This is coming to you a day early because I'm going down to my girlfriend's for some well-needed R&R. And I'm waiting for my tax return, and once I get it, I will recklessly spend my money and piss it away on nothing that matters. But at least I am an honest person who tells you the truth. And that's one thing you could always count on with me, is the truth. And I got something. I haven't spoke about Jeffrey Epstein much on the podcast, and that's not on purpose. That's just because I want to all my attention gets focused on the fascist regime, but Jeffrey Epstein's an important story. And we have a little bit from, there's a thread, a 3-tweet thread, Dr. Dennis Grayson, so I will hit you with that right now. And we have, the judge rules that then U.S. Attorney Secretary Acosta broke the law by concealing from about 30 underage victims an immunity deal for serial pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his alleged co-conspirators, including Trump, Alan Dershowitz, and others. Epstein's illegal plea deal could be tossed out. The judge gave federal prosecutors 15 days to reach a settlement with Epstein's victims. New victims have emerged, so the feds can and should charge Epstein and his cronies for rape, human trafficking, and other crimes. Epstein's pal and lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, negotiated immunity for himself and other men who allegedly raped underage girls. I don't care about the party affiliation of these pedophiles. Child rape is wrong, and these victims deserve justice. So we had Jeffrey Epstein. He's a pedophile. That's not an opinion. That's something that, he was found guilty of having sex with underage girls. And there was also some keeping them hostage in his house situations going on there too. So because he knew the U.S. Attorney and because Alan Dershowitz and Trump and these people, got powerful friends and he's a powerful guy, Jeffrey Epstein got little jail time. But that's not the kicker. He got jail time, but he also had a work release deal where he was able to every day get in a car, leave prison, and go home. Or go to, air quotes, work. How many prisoners do you know that get sentenced to prison, but they only have to sleep there? It's like we got a new apartment. I just don't. That's not normal. So when you see Alan Dershowitz on TV talking about constitutional law, you have to remember one thing. Alan Dershowitz negotiated immunity for himself in the Jeffrey Epstein child sex trafficking case. Alan Dershowitz likes little girls. Donald Trump likes little girls. These are not things like, let me say that again. Donald Trump likes little girls. Little girls. Donald Trump is a pedophile. And one day, we're going to find, we think we know most of the dirt on Trump right now. We think we know a lot of it. We don't know the half of it. Because the PP tape may not be urination. The PP tape is probably pedophilia. It's probably 15-year-old Russian prostitutes. And they're probably peeing on him. Hashtag water sports. So I apologize for not. Listen, I don't want there to be victims of sexual abuse in the world. Period. I don't want that to exist. I wish we lived in a world where sexual abuse would stop. But when sexual abuse happens, and especially if you're an older, powerful man, and you trap women in your house, and you have sex with little girls against their will, and it's always against their will, because if they're not of age to consent, then it's literally against their will. If you do that, you need to be removed from society. And not just for 6 hours a night when you go to sleep. the powerful people skating, we have to stop this now. Because that's how America's, tax rate for the wealthy, when Eisenhower was in office, it was 90%. Now it's down to like 28. Might be 30. I'm not sure what it is. It's less than, I know it's less than 50 because Reagan was at 50. So somehow over the last 40 years of America, or longer than that, but I'm just talking about the most recent history, the last quarter century or so, the last half a century or so. We've had special interest groups enter into politics so much so. Listen, it's one thing if if Pepsi supports a candidate or whatever, and that candidate is going to put Pepsi vending machines in their office. You know what I'm saying? There's one thing. But when we're at the point, that was a bad analogy. It doesn't make any sense. That's I don't know. It doesn't matter the analogy. The point is that we've gotten to a point where rich and powerful people can rape young girls and get away with it. That's not an America I want to live in. I'm just saying. If that's America, then I would like to talk to Justin Trudeau, and I would like to know what are the steps I need to take to obtain Canadian citizenship. Because again, the rule of law applies to everybody. It's not just, people who smoke weed who are black go to jail, but the white people don't. Like, for instance, Roger Stone, probably mentioned this earlier. If Roger Stone's name was Jamal or Amir, that motherfucker would be in jail with the quickness. But he got to go home because of his skin color. And because of where America is with people who have money. People who have, air quotes, power. Sickening. Okay. Can't ramble on forever. So I'm going to get up on out of here. But before I do, let me just first thank you guys for listening to the J Porks podcast. I never thank you guys. I never say thanks. And I'm sorry. And I mean it. I mean thank you, for real. Because again, I have no friends. You guys are the only people I have to talk to. So if you're listening to this podcast, and if you've made it down to the end, and you hear me with this despair in my voice, thanking you for listening to my podcast, I really do appreciate it. When you share your liberal stripes, people don't like you anymore, especially on Staten Island. It's not a very progressive place. So I appreciate everybody that likes my tweets and talks to me and interacts with me and makes me feel like I'm part of their crew, because I'm part of this crew called Patriotic Americans. Just a little thing. Just Americans that love America and want to save democracy and fight fascism. One podcast at a time. Okay, but before I do, let me give you the list of websites you need to go to help keep me in business. There is concertconfessions.com. That's where you're going to get all of your live music news and reviews for the fans by the fans. Last night, Concert Confessions retweeted a band, Beach Fossils. Beach Fossils had a tweet that said, why do bands care about what people are doing at their concert? Text your friends, have a good time. Exactly. We need more bands like that in the world. And although I've never listened to their music, I'm buying all their stuff right now. Spoiler, I'm probably not going to actually go buy any of their stuff. Not right now, but I'll probably listen to them on Spotify. I exaggerate sometimes. If you want to become a East Coast Radiohead, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/jporks. We got 3 tiers. Check it out. There's a little welcome video. You can get yourself some personalized artwork. Get yourself in on the podcast. That means you say, hey, Jay, I saw this article. You address this on the podcast, because you haven't talked about this. I'm with it, you get shouted out here. If you got a website or if you got a business you want me to, plug, I'll plug it. Shout you out. We'll interact on Twitter. Hey, listen, there's a top tier where you can call me and we'll talk on the phone. You tell me, you chew me out. Hey, Jay, I hated this. Or, hey, Jay, what you did this week was good. I have the sultry tones, and I'm not afraid to use it. Not afraid to use them. I'm also looking like, if anybody knows, like on YouTube, they have all these like homemade documentary things. Like, if people want me to narrate those for like $10-15, I will. Just, I'm going to start emailing people. Get some voiceover work going. And the new homepage is going to be leastcoastradio.weebly.com because we are getting off GoDaddy because GoDaddy is trash. All right. And me, Jay Porks, I am getting up on out of here. Hopefully next time you hear from me, I will have gotten my tax return. And I will have gotten more information about my new employment opportunity. So until next week, folks, Wacky Weed and Warren Zevon, resist, remove, and god damn it, fight for that recreational. How long are we going to have to wait? J-Porks. Late.